What if I told you that in 1967, a mathematics teacher in a small town in Oregon discovered a way to teach using numbers that, according to every mathematical principle we know, should not exist? What if I told you that her students began solving equations that had puzzled scientists for decades, creating formulas that would later lead to revolutionary discoveries in quantum physics and theoretical mathematics? And what if I told you that this teacher, Dr. Helena Voss, vanished without a trace, along with all her research, leaving behind only testimonies from her students and a single, incomprehensible equation written in her own blood on the blackboard of classroom 213? This is the story that the academic world has tried to bury for over 50 years. A story so disturbing that 3 universities have banned any mention of Dr. Voss's name in their mathematics departments. A story that begins with a brilliant woman's desperate attempt to prove that mathematics itself might be fundamentally broken, and ends with the discovery that some knowledge is too dangerous for the human mind to comprehend. Dr. Helena Voss arrived at Millbrook High School in the fall of 1960. She was 32 years old, a former MIT professor who had been quietly dismissed from her position after what the administration called philosophical differences regarding the nature of mathematical reality. The students in Millbrook knew none of this. To them, she was simply the new math teacher who spoke in whispers and whose eyes seemed to hold secrets that made even the bravest teenagers uncomfortable. From her first day, Dr. Voss taught mathematics differently. While other teachers worked with familiar numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, Dr. Voss introduced her students to what she called shadow numbers. These were numerical concepts that existed, she claimed, in the spaces between our traditional numbers, not decimals, not fractions, but entirely different entities that followed their own inexplicable rules. Sarah Mitchell, one of Dr. Voss's former students, still lives in Millbrook today. Now 68 years old, she remembers those classes with a mixture of fascination and terror. According to Sarah, Dr. Voss would begin each lesson by drawing symbols on the blackboard that looked like numbers but felt wrong somehow. They made your eyes water if you stared at them too long, and some students reported headaches that lasted for days after attempting to work with these shadow numbers. But here's where the story becomes truly impossible to believe, yet impossible to dismiss. Dr. Voss's students began achieving mathematical breakthroughs that should have been far beyond their capabilities. 16-year-old Tommy Reeves solved a problem related to prime number distribution that had stumped mathematicians for centuries. 17-year-old Linda Chen developed a formula for calculating pi that was somehow more accurate than any existing method, despite using numbers that, mathematically speaking, did not exist. The breakthrough that would ultimately seal Dr. Voss's fate came in March of 1960. Her advanced calculus class was working on what she called impossible equations, mathematical problems that had no solution within our number system but could be solved using shadow numbers. During one particularly intense session, something unprecedented happened. According to witness testimonies, the entire class experienced what can only be described as a mathematical vision. They claimed to see the fundamental structure of reality itself, laid bare through equations that rewrote the laws of physics. In that moment, several students reported understanding concepts that wouldn't be formally discovered by scientists until decades later. Theories about parallel universes, quantum entanglement, and the mathematical nature of consciousness itself. But this knowledge came at a terrible price. 3 students from that class suffered complete mental breakdowns within weeks. They would be found in their rooms frantically, scribbling equations that made no sense, speaking in what sounded like mathematical formulas instead of words. 2 were permanently institutionalized. The third, Michael Santos, disappeared entirely and has never been found. Dr. Voss, witnessing the destruction her teachings had wrought upon her students' minds, made a decision that would haunt the few who knew the full truth. She decided to prove once and for all whether shadow numbers were real, or if she had simply driven herself and her students into shared madness. On the night of April 15, 1968, she locked herself in classroom 213 with nothing but chalk, a blackboard, and her notebooks filled with impossible mathematics that the janitor found her the next morning. Or rather, he found what remained. Dr. Voss was gone, as if she had simply vanished into thin air. Her clothes lay neatly folded on her desk. Her notebooks were blank, every page mysteriously erased. But on the blackboard, written in what forensic analysis later confirmed was her blood, was a single equation so complex and disturbing that the first mathematician who attempted to analyze it suffered a stroke within minutes of beginning his work. The school board immediately sealed Classroom 2. The official story was that Dr. Voss had suffered a nervous breakdown and left town, though no record of her departure exists. Her employment records were mysteriously destroyed in a clerical accident. The students who had experienced the mathematical vision were transferred to different schools and advised never to speak of their experiences. But the story doesn't end there. Over the decades, those students grew up to become some of the most brilliant scientists, mathematicians, and physicists of their generation. They never spoke publicly about Dr. Voss, but their work consistently pushed the boundaries of human knowledge in ways that seemed to draw upon impossible mathematical insights. Sarah Mitchell became a quantum physicist whose theories about parallel universes are now considered foundational to modern cosmology. Tommy Reeves revolutionized computer science with algorithms that shouldn't work according to traditional mathematics, but somehow produce results beyond anything previously imagined. They all carry the same haunted look in their eyes, the same careful way of speaking about numbers, as if they know secrets that the human mind was never meant to comprehend. And sometimes, late at night, they admit to still seeing those shadow numbers in their dreams, numbers that exist in the spaces between reality, numbers that belong to a mathematics beyond human understanding. The most disturbing part of this story emerged only recently, when renovation work at the abandoned Millbrook High School required the opening of Classroom 213. The workers found the blackboard exactly as it had been left years ago, the blood-written equation still visible despite decades of neglect. But now there was something else. Additional equations covering every wall, written in the same blood, in the same handwriting, all apparently added long after Dr. Voss's disappearance. Carbon dating of the blood samples revealed an impossible truth. Some of the equations were written decades apart, yet all matched Dr. Voss's DNA. It was as if she had been returning to that classroom, year after year, adding to her terrible mathematical proof from somewhere beyond our understanding of existence. The mathematics department at the University of Oregon attempted to study these equations in 2021. The research was abandoned after 2 graduate students experienced what their supervisor described as complete mathematical psychosis, a condition in which the victim becomes unable to distinguish between numbers and reality. Perceiving everyday objects as living mathematical equations, the classroom has been sealed once again. But locals report strange phenomena. Mathematics teachers from surrounding schools speak of students who occasionally produce work using impossible numbers, as if Dr. Voss's shadow mathematics continues to spread through some unknown mechanism. These students often show remarkable mathematical ability before suddenly refusing to continue their studies, claiming that the numbers hurt to think about. Dr. Helena Voss discovered something that perhaps humanity was never meant to find: a mathematics that exists beyond our reality, numbers that can drive the human mind to the very edges of sanity and beyond. Her students achieved impossible breakthroughs because they were working with mathematical concepts that belonged to a different level of existence entirely. The question that haunts those few who know the full truth is this: did Dr. Voss discover shadow numbers? Or did shadow numbers discover her? Was she a brilliant mathematician who stumbled upon a terrible truth? Or was she chosen by something beyond our understanding to serve as a conduit for knowledge that exists in the spaces between our reality? Today, Classroom 213 remains sealed, but the mathematics that Dr. Voss unleashed continues to spread through whispered equations and impossible solutions. Her former students, now aging scientists and mathematicians, carry their terrible knowledge in silence, knowing that some truths are too dangerous to share, yet too important to let die completely. Perhaps The most chilling aspect of Dr. Voss's legacy is the realization that mathematics, which we have always considered the most pure and logical of all human endeavors, might itself be infected with something alien. Something that exists in the shadows between numbers, waiting for the right mind to discover it and unleash its impossible truths upon our unprepared world. If you've made it this far, you might be wondering whether any of this could possibly be true. I leave that judgment to you. But I will say this: the next time you're working with numbers, pay attention to the spaces between them. Sometimes, in those quiet mathematical moments, you might catch a glimpse of something that shouldn't be there. Something watching you from the realm of shadow numbers, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And if you do see something in those spaces between the numbers, whatever you do, don't try to solve for it. Some equations, once started, can never be stopped. Some mathematical truths, once glimpsed, change you forever. The story of Dr. Helena Voss serves as a reminder that human knowledge has boundaries, and some of those boundaries exist for our own protection. In our endless quest to understand the universe through mathematics, we must always remember that the universe might be looking back, calculating us just as intently as we calculate it. After all, in a reality where shadow numbers exist, who's to say that we aren't just mathematical equations ourselves, being solved by something far beyond our comprehension?